The enormous alien ship hung in the sky above New York City. It was nearly 2 miles long, its surface gleaming like polished silver in the morning sun. People stopped in the streets, pointing upward with open mouths. Some ran in fear, while others took videos with their phones. Frank Miller stood on the roof of the United Nations building, squinting up at the vessel. His heart raced, but years as a Marine had taught him to control his breathing. This was why they had called him back. From retirement, first contact, the thing diplomats and soldiers alike had trained for, but never truly expected. Nervous? Asked Sandra Hayes, the president's science advisor. Frank straightened his tie. No more than my first firefight. The government had prepared for this day. Radio signals had been detected 6 months ago, followed by replies in perfect English. The visitors called themselves the Viridian Collective, representatives of something called the Galactic Federation. They had requested this meeting, choosing the United Nations as their landing site. A beam of blue light shot down from the ship, touching the landing pad 30 feet away. The air shimmered, and then they appeared. 5 aliens, each nearly 7 feet tall, with iridescent blue-green skin that looked like polished stone. They had 4 arms and walked on backward-jointed legs. Their faces were flat, with 3 large, black eyes arranged in a triangle. Frank stepped forward as practiced. On behalf of Earth, I welcome you to our world. I am Frank Miller, chosen representative of the United Nations. The tallest alien moved forward with careful, deliberate steps. Its movements were stiff, almost robotic. Greetings, small one. I am Ambassador Zorix of the Viridian Collective, voice of the Galactic Federation in this sector. The alien's voice came from a small device on what appeared to be its chest. We approach with peaceful intent and great concern. Frank raised an eyebrow. Concern? Zorix tilted his large head. Indeed. Our scans indicate your species lacks proper protection. Your outer covering is distressingly soft. The alien turned to one of its companions. Science Officer Relax. Confirm readings. A smaller alien stepped forward, holding a device that glowed purple. It waved the device at Frank, who remained still. Confirmed, Ambassador, said Relax. They possess no exoskeleton, no scales, no significant dermal armor. Their covering is merely a thin layer of cells. Minimal protection against environmental dangers. The alien made a sound like clicking rocks. Classification suggests Class 3 fragile. Frank frowned. I assure you, we are quite resilient despite appearances. Ambassador Zorix made a gesture that might have been dismissal. Please, do not exert yourself with false bravado. We understand the psychological compensation mechanisms of vulnerable species. The alien turned to its companions. Adjust environmental. Shields to maximum protection. We must ensure no harm comes to these delicate beings. The aliens tapped at devices on their wrists, and a slight shimmer appeared around them. Frank noticed the temperature around him becoming more comfortable. The air cleaner and easier to breathe. That's really not necessary, Frank said. Humans are adapted to Earth's environment. Of course, Zorix said in a tone that reminded Frank of how people talk to young children. But Federation protocols are clear regarding class. 3 fragiles. We must take all precautions. Sandra stepped forward. Our medical scans show your species has a crystalline cellular structure, very different from our own. Yes, said Science Officer Relax. Our biology is superior in terms of protection. Your soft tissues would rupture under pressures we consider normal. Frank could feel his patience wearing thin. We may not have your structure, but humans have survived on this planet for thousands of years. We've adapted to every environment from Arctic ice to burning deserts. The aliens exchanged looks that Frank couldn't interpret. Ambassador Zorix made that clicking sound again. Remarkable survival despite such limitations, the ambassador said. The Federation will ensure your continued existence through our protection. Protocols. Frank opened his mouth to object, but Sandra placed a hand on his arm. The diplomatic briefing had been clear. First impressions matter. The meeting continued for hours. The aliens explained the Galactic Federation, an alliance of over 300 species from 97 star systems. Earth was being offered. Membership, which would bring advanced technology, interstellar travel, and necessary protection status. As they moved inside the UN building for further talks, Frank noticed how the aliens watched each human movement with what seemed like worry. When he lifted a heavy diplomatic gift, a crystal orb representing Earth Ambassador Zorax nearly collapsed. "Please, allow our drones to carry such burdens." The ambassador waved frantically, and a floating robot quickly took the orb from Frank's hands. "Your muscle density is insufficient for such tasks." Frank took a deep breath. "Ambassador, I've carried packs twice this weight through mountain ranges. Humans are stronger than we look." "A brave statement," Zorax said kindly. "But our scans do not lie. Your species ranks among the bottom quarter of Federation members in terms of natural protection. Without our help, you would be vulnerable to exploitation." The alien diplomatic team insisted on adjusting everything in the meeting. Room, the chairs, the lighting, even the air composition. They provided special cushions and constantly offered water and nutrients. Frank felt like he was in a nursing home. By evening, the initial agreements were drafted. Earth would join the Federation as a protected species, a classification that came with both benefits and restrictions. Humans would receive medical and technological advancements, but would be limited in certain dangerous activities, including independent space travel. As the aliens prepared to return to their ship, Ambassador Zorax placed one of his 4 hands gently on Frank's shoulder. "Do not worry, small one. The Federation will ensure your species' safety. Your fragility is not your fault, merely an evolutionary path your kind has taken. We will guide you now." Frank watched the aliens disappear in their beam of light. The ship hummed and slowly moved higher into the sky until it was just a bright dot among the stars. Sandra stood beside him. "That could have gone worse." Frank shook his head. "They think we're made of glass. Did you see how they reacted when I carried that orb, or when Billy sneezed? They nearly called a medical emergency." "So they underestimate us," Sandra said. "Maybe that's not such a bad thing for now." Frank watched the night sky where the ship had been. "For now, maybe. But I don't think humans will accept being treated like children for long." He straightened his shoulders. "Sooner or later, they'll learn what humans are really capable of." In orbit above Earth, Ambassador Zorax was filing his report to the Federation Council. "The species shows remarkable adaptation despite severe biological limitations," he dictated. "They require immediate protection status and careful handling. Classification: Class 3 fragile, with psychological compensation mechanisms causing dangerous overconfidence. Recommendation: limited integration with protective oversight." Science Officer Relax added a note to the file. "Humans display unusual pride, despite their obvious fragility. Further study required to understand how they have survived this long, without proper biological defenses. Their confidence borders on delusional regarding their physical capabilities." The ship accelerated away from Earth, leaving behind monitoring satellites and the first installment of protective technology. The Federation had welcomed another species under its wing, one they were certain needed their guidance and protection. They had no idea how wrong they were. 6 months had passed since first contact. The massive space station called Celestial Nexus orbited in the neutral zone between 3 star systems. It served as the main diplomatic hub for this sector of the Galactic Federation. Humans had been granted a small section on the station, far away from what the aliens called high-risk areas. Lisa Ortega walked through the human sector, her boots making soft sounds on the polished floor. At 32, she had served 10 years in the Army and won 3 national martial arts championships before being selected for the diplomatic corps. Her dark hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and her brown eyes missed nothing as she observed the station. "Excuse me, Fragile One. Please allow assistance." A robotic voice called out as Lisa picked up her duffel bag. A hovering service drone zipped toward her. It was one of hundreds that followed humans around the station, programmed to prevent the fragile species from exerting themselves. "I can carry my own bag," Lisa said firmly, waving the drone away. The drone continued to hover. Protocol indicates human muscle structure insufficient for safe lifting of objects exceeding 5 kilograms. Please allow assistance. Lisa ignored the drone and continued walking. In the 6 months since joining the Federation, humans had discovered that their protected species status came with endless frustrations. Humans were banned from 80% of the station, prohibited from operating most alien technology, and constantly monitored by safety drones. Frank Miller stood waiting at the entrance to the diplomatic section. His face looked tired. "Welcome to Celestial Nexus, Specialist Ortega," he said, shaking her hand. "Sorry about the drones. We're still trying to get the protocols adjusted." "How do you stand it?" Lisa asked as they walked. "Being treated like we might break at any moment?" Frank sighed. "Diplomacy is a slow game. We're making progress, but changing their perception of us takes time." They entered the human diplomatic office's small rooms that the Federation had specially modified with what they called fragile appropriate features. The chairs had extra padding. The air was filtered multiple times, and all corners had been rounded to prevent injuries. "We have a situation," Frank said once they were alone. "That's why we called you up here." He activated a screen showing a red-skinned reptilian alien with bony plates covering its body. The alien wore elaborate armor decorated with symbols. "This is Ambassador Grell of the Kronax Empire," Frank explained. "They're a warrior species on the edge of Federation space. Not full members, but powerful enough that everyone respects their borders." Lisa studied the alien. "They look tough. They are. And they've been watching how the Federation treats humans. Last week, they formally challenged our right to access the Centauri trade routes." "On what grounds?" Frank's jaw tightened. "They say fragile species have no business in contested territories, that we would be liability burdens in regions where conflict might occur." Lisa felt her temper rising. "So they want to block us from the resource-rich systems we were promised?" "Exactly. And under Federation law, they can demand species classification reviews." Frank looked directly at Lisa. "The Kronax have invoked an ancient Federation protocol called Kruvda." "What's that?" "A ritual combat that determines species hierarchy." Frank's voice was grim. "If we refuse, we automatically accept classification as non-combatants and lose all rights to disputed territories." Lisa leaned forward. "And if we accept?" "We need a representative to face their champion in unarmed combat. The Federation Council is in session tomorrow to discuss the challenge. Ambassador Zorix is already arguing that humans should be exempted due to our biological limitations." Frank couldn't hide the bitterness in his voice. "Without even asking us?" Lisa stood up, pacing the room. "They're making decisions about our capabilities without giving us a chance to prove ourselves." "That's why you're here," Frank said. "Your combat record and martial arts background make you our best option. But I need to be clear, this is voluntary, and it's dangerous. The Kronax are twice our size with natural armor." Lisa stopped pacing. "When is the council meeting?" 0900 station time. "We'll present our case, but the council seems determined to protect us from ourselves." The next morning, Lisa stood with Frank in the Grand Council chamber. The room was circular, with raised platforms for each member species. Ambassador Zorix occupied the central speaking position, his blue-green skin gleaming under the lights. "Honored representatives," Zorix was saying, "we must reject this challenge on behalf of our human friends. Their physiology simply cannot withstand Krevta combat with a Kronax warrior. Our medical models predict 97% probability of fatal injury." Ambassador Grell of the Kronax stepped forward, his movements powerful and deliberate. His voice rumbled through the chamber. "The Federation grows soft, protecting species that cannot defend themselves. If humans wish access to disputed territories, they must prove their worth as all others have, or accept their natural place as protected subordinates." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Most species seemed to agree with Zorix's assessment. Lisa saw pity in many alien eyes, the same look people give to small children or wounded animals. "The humans have not even been given opportunity to speak," said a tall, insect-like alien from one of the platforms. "Federation protocol requires their input." Frank stepped forward to the speaking platform. "Thank you, Representative Krex. Humans understand the risks of Krevda. We do not ask for special exemptions or protections. We ask only for the right granted to all species, to prove ourselves." Ambassador Zorix made the clicking sound Lisa had learned indicated distress. "Frank, please. The medical data is clear. No human could survive combat with a Kronax warrior. We seek only to prevent unnecessary harm." Lisa had heard enough. She stepped forward beside Frank. "I volunteer as human representative for Krevda," she said loudly. The chamber erupted in sounds clicks, whistles, and rumbles as alien representatives communicated their shock. Ambassador Zorix rushed to Lisa's side. "This is madness," he whispered urgently. "You cannot understand what you face. Commander Draz of the Kronax has never been defeated. His exoskeleton can withstand impacts that would shatter human bones." Lisa met his three-eyed gaze steadily. "You've studied our biology, Ambassador, but you've never seen what humans can do when challenged. I accept the risks." Ambassador Grell's mouth opened in what might have been a smile, revealing rows of sharp teeth. "The human accepts. The Council must honor the ancient ways." An elderly alien with translucent skin raised a gnarled hand. "As Council Elder, I must acknowledge the humans' right to represent their species, but I strongly advise reconsideration." Lisa stepped to the center of the chamber. "My name is Lisa Ortega of Earth. I formally accept the Krevta challenge against the Kronax champion." The chamber fell silent. Then Ambassador Grell spoke again. "The combat will take place in 3 station cycles. Prepare yourself, human. Commander, Draz will show the galaxy your true fragility." As the council session ended, aliens crowded around Lessa. Some offered sympathy, others medical assistance. All seemed certain she faced certain death. Only Frank stood by her side without doubt. "You've opened the door," he said quietly. "Now we need to show them what humans are really made of." Lisa nodded, watching as Ambassador Grell departed with his entourage. "They think they know our limits. It's time they learned they don't." In his private chamber, Ambassador Zorix reviewed human medical files with growing concern. "They are sending this female to her death," he told his aide. "We must find a way to prevent this tragedy." His aide, a younger Viridian, looked at the shoe. Screen showing Lisa's military record. "Perhaps, Ambassador? Perhaps we have underestimated these humans?" Zorix dismissed the thought with a wave of his hand. "Impossible. The data is clear. No Class 3 fragile could survive Krevda with a Kronax. We must save them from themselves, before it's too late." Lisa stood in the small training room the Federation had reluctantly provided. Sweat ran down her face, as she completed her third hour of training. The room had been designed for safe physical therapy rather than combat preparation, but she had made it work. She had pushed aside the soft furniture and created space to move. A door slid open, and John Martinez walked in. He was the only human xenobiologist on the station, a man with kind eyes and a sharp mind. "Thought you might want some water," he said, offering her a bottle, "and some information on your opponent." Lisa took the water gratefully. "Tell me everything." John placed a small device on the floor. It projected a three-dimensional image of Commander Draz. The Kronax warrior stood over 7 feet tall, with thick, plate-like scales covering his body and powerful limbs. "I've been studying Kronax biology," John said. "They evolved on a high-gravity world with extreme temperature changes. Their outer plates can withstand impacts that would break human bones, and their muscles are roughly 3 times denser than ours." Lisa wiped her face with a towel. "Weaknesses?" John smiled. "I was hoping you'd ask that. First, their joints. See here?" He pointed to areas between the armored plates. "They have excellent protection, but limited flexibility. They can't rotate. They're joints like we can." He adjusted the image, highlighting the Kronax respiratory system. "Second, their breathing. They evolved as ambush predators, not endurance runners. They burn oxygen quickly in bursts of activity, but recover slowly. If you can force continued exertion, they tire faster than humans." Lisa nodded, studying the projection carefully. "Their eyes? Protected by transparent scales tough to damage. But their vision is designed for distance spotting, not close combat tracking. Fast, unpredictable movements might confuse their visual processing." Lisa began to stretch, processing this information. "So I'm fighting an opponent with natural armor, superior strength, but potential weaknesses in flexibility, endurance, and tracking close movements." "Exactly," John said. "Everyone's focusing on their advantages, not their limitations." A chime sounded, and the door opened again. Admiral Peter Hansen entered, his uniform crisp despite the station's artificial gravity. "Specialist Ortega," he said formally, then relaxed slightly. "A Federation Council is still trying to cancel the combat. Ambassador Zorix has filed 3 separate motions claiming human endangerment." Lisa continued her stretches. "Let me guess without consulting us?" "Naturally," the Admiral said dryly. "I've been fighting bureaucratic battles all day. They've tried everything from declaring you mentally unfit to claiming Earth's government never approved your participation." "Have they succeeded?" John asked. WORRIEDLY. Admiral Hansen allowed himself a small smile. "Not yet. I've invoked every procedural rule in the book. The combat is still scheduled, but they're making things difficult. They've restricted your training time, limited your nutrition options, and assigned a medical team to follow you everywhere." Lisa glanced at the door where 2 alien medics hovered anxiously. They had been tracking her vital signs remotely, occasionally making distressed noises. When her heart rate increased during exercise. "Can you get me more information on Kronax fighting techniques?" Lisa asked John. "Recorded matches, training methods, anything. The Federation has classified that as potentially harmful information for humans," John said with frustration. "But I've found some workarounds. I'll have data for you within the hour." Admiral Hansen watched Lisa resume her training. "Do you really think you can win this?" he asked quietly. Lisa performed a series of rapid strikes at an imaginary opponent. "I don't know, but I know I can show them we're not what they think we are." Word of the upcoming Krefta had spread throughout the station. Aliens of various species found excuses to pass by the human training room, curious to see the fragile being who had accepted certain doom. Most watched with what seemed like pity or morbid curiosity. In the evening, Lisa sat reviewing the combat data John had provided. The door chimed, and Ambassador Zorix entered, his normally blue-green skin looking paler. "Specialist Ortega," he said, his translator conveying genuine concern. "I come not as a Federation representative, but as someone who cares for your species' well-being." Lisa set aside her data pad. "I appreciate the concern, Ambassador, but my decision stands." Zorix settled awkwardly into a chair designed for humans. "You cannot comprehend the physical capabilities of the Kronax. Our scientists have run thousands of simulations. In none of them does a human survive unassisted combat with Commander Draz." "Your simulations are based on limited data," Lisa replied. "You've scanned our bodies, but never truly tested our limits." "Please," Zorix said, leaning forward. "We can find another solution to the territorial dispute. The Federation would gladly offer alternative resources." Lisa stood up. "This isn't just about resources, Ambassador. It's about how the galaxy sees humans. As long as we're classified as fragile, we'll be limited in everything we do." Zorix made the clicking sound of distress. "Is your pride worth your life?" "It's not pride," Lisa said firmly. "It's the truth. You've misunderstood us from the beginning. Come with me." She led the confused ambassador to a separate room where she had set up a small demonstration. With John's help, she had created a simple course that demonstrated human capabilities. For the next hour, Lisa showed the ambassador what a trained human could do. She performed feats of endurance, flexibility, and precision that made Zorix's 3 eyes widen. She demonstrated pain tolerance by holding ice in her hand until it melted. She showed healing by revealing a cut from yesterday's training that was already scabbing over. "What you see as fragility, we see as adaptability," Lisa explained as she completed a series of complex martial arts forms. "We don't have natural armor because we developed something better, the ability to heal, to adapt, to endure." Ambassador Zorix watched in silence, his translator unable to convey his thoughts. "Our bones can break, yes," Lisa continued, "but they heal stronger at the breakpoint. Our skin tears, but it repairs itself. We feel pain acutely, but we can choose to push through it. These aren't weaknesses, Ambassador. They're different kinds of strength." When the demonstration ended, Zorix stood silently for a long moment. "I have served the Federation for 60 years, he finally said. "I have encountered 112 different species. Never have I so fundamentally misunderstood a species' nature." He bowed slightly. "I still fear for your safety, but I begin to see that perhaps our assessment has been incomplete." After the ambassador left, John entered with new data. "That was impressive," he said. "I think you actually got through to him." Lisa nodded, returning to her review of Kronax. "Fighting techniques. One alien at a time. But tomorrow is what matters. Tomorrow, I have to get through to all of them." That night, as Lisa finally rested, Ambassador Zorix met with his science team. "Adjust our human capability models," he instructed. "Factor in what we witnessed today, and ... He hesitated. "Prepare medical protocols that allow for the possibility, however small, that our initial assessment of humans may have been flawed." Science Officer Relax looked shocked. "Ambassador, are you suggesting a Class 3 fragile might survive Krevda?" "I am suggesting," Zorix said slowly, "that perhaps humans were misclassified from the beginning." As the station's lights dimmed to simulate night, Lisa lay awake, mentally preparing for tomorrow's combat. In her mind, she repeated what her first martial arts teacher had told her years ago. True strength isn't about never falling. It's about how many times you can get back up. Tomorrow, she would show the galaxy what that meant. The Krefta Arena was a large circular space in the center of Celestial Nexus. Thousands of aliens from across the Yus Federation filled the viewing platforms that rose in rings around the combat floor. Many had traveled great distances to witness what they believed would be a quick and brutal demonstration of natural order. Lisa stood in the preparation chamber, breathing slowly and deliberately. She wore a simple black outfit made of earth, materials she had refused the padded protective gear the Federation had tried to force on her. They didn't understand that mobility and speed would be more valuable than cushioning. John Martinez and Admiral Hansen waited with her. Neither spoke much. They had said everything necessary during the preparations. 2 minutes, a mechanical voice announced. Admiral Hansen finally broke the silence. The betting pools are running 1,000 to 1 against you, he said with a hint of amusement. I placed my month's salary on you. Lisa smiled slightly. Good investment. The Federation medical team is on high alert, John added. They have 3 emergency shuttles ready to transport you to their medical bay. They're convinced you'll need immediate surgery. Lisa stretched her shoulders. Let's hope they're wrong. A soft chime sounded, and the door to the arena slid open. Lisa took a final deep breath and walked out into bright lights. The crowd noise dimmed as she entered. A hush of surprise, or perhaps respect for what they saw as a doomed creature walking. To her fate, the arena floor was simple, a circle 50 feet across made of a material that felt like packed sand, but was actually a synthetic compound designed to provide secure footing without causing abrasions. The Federation had at least respected the traditional Krevda setting. On the opposite side, another door opened. Commander Draz entered, and even prepared as she was, Lisa felt a moment of doubt. The Kronax warrior was massive, nearly 8 feet of armored muscle. His red-scaled body gleamed under the lights, and the bony plates covering his chest and limbs looked impenetrable. His face was reptilian, with yellow eyes that fixed on her with predatory focus. A Federation official floated on a small platform above the center of the arena. This Krevda will determine the status of humans within contested territories, the official announced, voice amplified throughout the arena. Combat continues until surrender, incapacitation, or ... double quotes, the official paused, termination. Lisa saw Ambassador Zorix in the front row of officials, his 3 eyes blinking rapidly in what she now recognized as extreme stress. Combatants approach center, the official ordered. Lisa walked forward at the same time as Draz. Up close, the size difference was even more dramatic. The top of her head barely reached his chest. I expected the humans to send a mail, Draz said, his translator making his voice sound like grinding stones. At least they might have size. You are even smaller than I anticipated. Lisa met his gaze steadily. Size isn't everything. Draz made a sound that might have been laughter. I will try not to kill you too quickly, soft one. The audience deserves a show. The official raised a hand. Combat begins on signal. A pause, then a bright flash of light and a tone. Begin. Draz moved with surprising speed for his size, lunging forward with arms spread wide to grab her. Lisa had anticipated this. John's research had shown that Kronax warriors typically began with grappling to use their superior strength. She darted sideways, faster than Draz expected, and circled away. Murmurs spread through the crowd. They had expected her to freeze or attempt to block, not to move with such fluid quickness. Draz turned, eyes tracking her. Running only delays, he said. Face your fate. Lisa continued moving, studying his movements. She noticed how he turned his entire upper body rather than just his head, a limitation of his armored neck. She filed this information away. Draz. Charged again, more carefully this time. Lisa waited until the last moment, then dropped low and rolled beneath his reaching arms. As she came up behind him, she struck hard at the back of his knee, one of the joint weaknesses John had identified. Draz stumbled slightly, but didn't fall. He spun around faster than she expected, and his arm caught her shoulder. The impact sent her sliding across the arena floor. A gasp went up from the crowd. Many aliens turned away, certain the human was already broken. The medical teams at the edge of the arena moved forward, but Lisa rolled to her feet immediately. Her shoulder hurt, but nothing was broken. She saw surprise in Draz's yellow eyes. "First blood to you," she said, rolling her shoulder to show she could still move it. Confusion rippled through the audience. The small, soft creature should be crying in pain, not standing ready to continue. Lisa didn't wait for Draz to recover from his surprise. She darted forward, feinting left before changing direction sharply. This time she aimed for his side, striking hard at the narrow gap between chest and arm plates, another weak point in his natural armor. Draz grunted, more in surprise than pain. His arm swung around in a wide arc. Lisa ducked under it and delivered 3 rapid strikes to the same spot before dancing away. "You are faster than expected," Draz admitted. "But speed alone will not save you." For the next few minutes they continued this dance, Draz trying to use his superior reach and strength, Lisa evading and striking at the gaps in his armor. Each time she took a hit, the crowd expected her to stay down. Each time she rose again, their surprise grew. Lisa felt her body beginning to tire, but she could see Draz's breathing becoming heavier too. His species wasn't built for extended combat, exactly as John had predicted. She needed to push this advantage. She began to move more aggressively, forcing Draz to turn and chase her. Each time he lunged, she made him miss, using his momentum against him. The Kronax warrior was burning oxygen rapidly now, his yellow eyes showing frustration. Lisa took risks, coming closer to land more damaging strikes. This strategy cost her. A glancing blow caught her ribs, and she felt a crack. Pain flared, but she pushed through it, just as she had in countless fights on Earth. The medical teams were frantic now, signaling to the officials that the human was injured and combat should stop. The officials looked uncertain. No one had expected the fight to last this long. Draz was slowing visibly now, his movements becoming less coordinated. Lisa saw her opportunity. She feinted as if weakening, letting her left side appear vulnerable. Draz took the bait, committing to a powerful but slower attack. Lisa exploded into motion, ducking under his arm and moving inside his reach. She delivered a series of precise strikes to the nerve clusters John had identified beneath his jaw plates, followed by a sweeping kick to the back of his knee, the same spot she had targeted earlier. This time, the combined attack worked. Draz's leg buckled, and the massive warrior crashed to one knee. The arena went completely silent. Before he could recover, Lisa moved behind him, applying pressure to specific nerve points where his skull met his spine. It was a technique adapted from human martial arts, modified based on John's analysis of Kronax physiology. Draz struggled, but his oxygen-depleted muscles responded sluggishly. His arms reached back, but couldn't find their target as Lisa shifted position, maintaining the pressure points. "Yield," Lisa said, loud enough for nearby translators to pick up. "You fought well." For several seconds, Draz continued to struggle. Then, slowly, his hand flattened and tapped the arena floor 3 times, the universal signal of surrender in Krevda. Lisa immediately released him and stepped back, breathing hard but standing tall despite her injuries. The silence in the arena was absolute. No Class 3 Fragile had ever won a Krevda combat in Federation history. Many aliens simply stared, unable to process what they had witnessed. Commander Draz rose slowly to his feet. He turned to face Lisa, towering over her once more. Then, to everyone's shock, he placed his fist against his chest in the Kronax salute of respect. "You are many things, human," his translator conveyed. But fragile is not one of them. The official hovered uncertainly above them before finally finding his voice. The Krevda is concluded. Victory to the human representative. As Lisa walked from the arena, she caught sight of Ambassador Zorix. The Viridian stood perfectly still, all three eyes fixed on her, with what could only be described as wonder. The galaxy's perception of humanity had just changed forever. Lisa sat in the medical bay as a Federation doctor carefully wrapped her ribs. Her body was bruised, and she had a cut above her eye, but she had refused the more invasive treatments the aliens had tried to insist on. The bones will heal naturally, she explained to the frustrated doctor. That's what human bodies do. The door slid open, and John Martinez entered with Admiral Hansen and Frank Miller. Their faces showed a mixture of pride and disbelief. You've caused quite a stir, Admiral, Hansen said. The Federation Council has been in emergency session for the past 3 hours. Frank smiled. They don't know what to do with their data now. Their entire classification system is being questioned. Lisa winced as the doctor finished wrapping. Her ribs, they'll adapt. That's what intelligent species do, right? Speaking of adaptation, John said, Ambassador Zorix has requested to see you. He's waiting outside. Lisa nodded, and John signaled for the ambassador to enter. The tall Viridian looked different somehow, his posture less stiff, his movements more natural around the humans. Specialist Ortega, Zorix said formally, then hesitated. Lisa, I come with an official message and a personal one. I'm listening, Lisa said. Officially, the Federation Council has granted full territorial access rights to humans as agreed. In the original treaty, the Kronax Empire has withdrawn their objection, and Zorix made a sound that his translator didn't catch. ... They have actually requested direct diplomatic relations with Earth. Frank raised his eyebrows. They want to talk to us specifically? Commander Draz was quite impressed, Zorix explained. His report to his superiors described humans as worthy adversaries with unexpected capabilities. High praise from a Kronax. Lisa smiled slightly. And unofficially? Ambassador Zorix's skin changed hue slightly. What Lisa had learned was a sign of emotion in his species. Unofficially, I come to apologize. Not just for myself, but for the misunderstanding that has shaped our relationship with your species. The ambassador moved closer. We saw your lack of natural armor as weakness. We never considered that it might be the foundation of a different kind of strength. Admiral Hansen leaned against the wall. Evolution takes many paths. Indeed, Zorix. Agreed. Our scientists are already re-examining human physiology. Your adaptive healing, your pain tolerance, your endurance. These are capabilities we undervalued because they are so different from our own advantages. The door opened again, and a human woman entered. Catherine Bell was Earth's chief diplomatic officer, recently arrived from Earth. Her gray hair was cut short, and her eyes were sharp with intelligence. I see our patient is recovering well, she said, and I hear she's created quite an opportunity. For us. Zorix turned to Catherine. Chief Bell, the Federation Council has agreed to review the human classification immediately. The term, Class 3 Fragile, has been suspended pending new evaluation. Catherine smiled. Good, because I've brought proposals for several joint projects that were previously rejected due to our classification. The next week passed in a blur of meetings and medical checkups. Lisa found herself the reluctant center of attention as aliens throughout the station sought to meet the human who had defeated a Kronax warrior. Many came with questions about human capabilities, no longer asking with condescension, but with genuine curiosity. 7 days after the combat, Lisa stood with the Earth delegation in the Grand Council chamber. The room was even more crowded than before, with representatives from species who normally sent only remote observers. The Federation's council elder stood at the center of the chamber, his translucent skin glowing softly. After careful review of new evidence and extensive scientific reassessment, the elder announced, the Federation Council has created a new classification for humans. A murmur ran through the chamber. Creating a new classification was extremely rare. Humans shall henceforth be classified as a resilient adaptive species, a designation that acknowledges their unique evolutionary path. The elder raised his hands. All previous restrictions based on the former classification are hereby removed. Catherine Bell stepped forward to accept the formal documents. As Earth's chief diplomat, she had worked tirelessly to leverage Lisa's victory into meaningful change for humanity's place in the galaxy. The Federation welcomes this opportunity to correct our understanding, the elder continued, and we invite human experts to join our Xenobiology Council to help prevent similar misclassifications in the future. After the ceremony, Lisa found herself standing near a viewport, looking out at the stars. Ambassador Zorix joined her. Your people will be leaving their mark on the galaxy sooner than any of us expected, he said. Lisa smiled. We've been waiting for this chance for a long time. The Kronax have formally requested that human martial arts instructors be sent to their homeworld, Zorix said, with what sounded like amusement. They believe your combat techniques could complement their natural strengths. I might volunteer for that mission, Lisa said. Commander Draz seemed like he could be a good training partner. Zorix made the clicking sound that Lisa now knew indicated humor. He has specifically requested to train with you. I believe you made quite an impression. From across the room, Catherine Bell waved Lisa over to meet an insectoid alien who had many questions about human endurance training. As Lisa walked away, Zorix watched her go. His aide approached quietly. A remarkable species, the aide commented. More than remarkable, Zorix replied. When we first encountered them, I worried they were too fragile for the dangers of the galaxy. Now I wonder if perhaps it is the galaxy that should worry. 3 months later, the first joint human Kronax military exercise was held in neutral space. Ships from across the Federation came to observe as the former fragile species demonstrated combat techniques alongside the warrior race that had once dismissed them. On Earth, applications for the new Galactic Service Academy had increased tenfold. Young humans dreamed of exploring the stars, no longer limited by others' perceptions of their capabilities. In her new role as Special Advisor for Interspecies Relations, Lisa stood on the bridge of an Earthship, watching the training exercises. Frank Miller stood beside her, now promoted to Earth's ambassador to the Federation. Did you ever imagine this would happen when we first met those overprotective aliens? Lisa asked. Frank shook his head. I hoped we'd earn their respect eventually, but I never thought one person could change everything so quickly. Lisa looked out at the stars. It wasn't just me. It was what I represented, what all humans represent. The strength that comes not from never breaking, but from healing. Not from avoiding pain, but from enduring it. Not from natural armor, but from adaptation. On the main screen, human crews worked alongside Kronax warriors and Viridian technicians. Other species watched and learned, adjusting their understanding of what was possible. The galaxy's a big place, Frank said, full of dangers and opportunities. But I think we've shown them that humans are ready for both. Lisa nodded. We've just taken our first real step into the stars, and now they know never judge a species by its skin. In his private chambers on the Federation homeworld, the ancient council elder reviewed the reports from the joint exercises. His assistant entered with more data. Should I add these to the human file, Elder? The assistant asked. The elder looked up from his desk. No. Create a new file category. Label it Species Previously Underestimated. I suspect humans may not be the last surprise the galaxy has in store for us. As the elder returned to his work, a small smile crossed his ancient face. The universe had just become a more interesting place.